Hey, Matt.
Hey, what's up, Mike?
I got a joke for you.
Oh, Jesus. Again?
Yeah.
All right, hit me.
All right.
What's your best shot?
Why did Tony Romo cross the road?
Oh, because he's an aging quarterback and he needs to be hit by a car?
Nope. Any other guesses, or you want me to tell you?
Just hit me.
To get to the hospital on the other side.
Oh, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to 2N Football.
I'm Mike.
And I'm Matt, and we are continuing our trek through the NFC Conference. This time we're stopping at the NFC East, which consists of the Dallas Cowboys, New York Giants, Washington Redskins, and the Philadelphia Eagles.
We're going to kick off our East coverage with the first place team in 2016, the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys finished the season with a 13-3 record, which won them the division, but then they lost and they got a first-round bye and then lost in the divisional round of the playoffs to our own Green Bay Packers in an epic 34-31 game at AT&T Stadium.
A shootout if there ever was one.
Yeah, that was one of the most exciting games I've ever experienced as a fan. On the whole, though, the Cowboys had an unexpectedly brilliant season with two rookies leading the way. After a preseason back injury sidelined the incumbent starter Tony Romo, their fourth-round draft pick, Dak Prescott, took the reins and helped out a lot by their first-round pick, Ezekiel Elliott, had a great rookie season. So good, in fact, that we believe the Cowboys are just days away from releasing Romo, leaving Dak as the permanent starter.
Which makes sense when you have a quarterback that's young, adaptive to the offense as he was, and leads the team in this route. I mean, how could you not want this as your new face of the franchise?
And went a whole season without getting injured. Something their old starter struggled with.
Screw you, Romo.
I'll just get this out of the way. I am a fan of Romo. Matt just despises him. I'm a fan, excited to see where he ends up.
He's going to be a better rated backup or a TV analyst.
No, you're wrong.
Yeah,
but
well,
moving on.
First time.
Moving on. This offense was very good, but only primarily through the ground. They averaged 26.3 points per game, 377 yards per game. Both of those were fifth in the league. Pass yards were a bit down, 227 per game, which was 23rd. But they were second in the league with 150 rushing yards per game. And that can almost all be attributed to Ezekiel Elliott and the offensive line.
And I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that defenses were not prepared for this duo. Mm-mm. How often do you prepare for rookies? Usually you laugh at it like, oh, great. Like, take a look at Jared Goff's rookie year. Yep. It was a disaster, a train wreck. And yet these guys came out and led a 13-3. Potentially everyone had Super Bowl talk halfway through the season.
Didn't work out that way, but
they gave it one hell of a go.
They sure did, and this offense looked great. And let's jump right into the rookie Dak Prescott. So the 23-year-old won the Offensive Rookie of the Year award this year, and he did have a great season and didn't look like a rookie most of the time. He completed 67.8% of his passes, which was fourth highest in the league. He had 3,660 yards with an 8.0 average per attempt, 23 touchdowns, and just 4 interceptions. And also 4 fumbles lost. So it's a very good turnover ratio for him. Touchdowns were a little low, yards kind of low. They didn't ask him to do a whole lot because he didn't have to most of the time.
Well, not just that, but you didn't know what to expect out of him. And for a rookie, these don't look like rookie numbers.
No.
These look like your average quarterback maybe in a slump or a low season if they had injuries to receivers and linemen. Mm-hmm. If you just looked at the numbers, you wouldn't think rookie.
Definitely not, especially those low
interceptions. Like the forced fumbles, okay, it's your first year. That you hope will improve.
Mm. But yeah, 4 interceptions is very hard to do over a full season. There are some quarterbacks who have more than that in a single game.
Don't you look at me like that.
Like Matt's favorite quarterback of all time, Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Well, I don't know about favorite of all time. Let's not go making assumptions here.
All right. I retract that statement. So Prescott also set a franchise record with 6 rushing touchdowns this year, which was something he was known for in college too, was running the ball effectively. So there's a good amount of dink and dunk, short yard passes, which led to his low yardage and touchdown totals, and has also helped his high completion percentage. But he did what they asked him to do. He did it well, and They had a great season.
If it ain't broke, you don't fix it.
Yeah. And I really think in year 2, they'll be able to expand the offense even more and get him pushing the ball downfield more. And, the deep and intermediate ball, he could use some work on, and I think they'll give him those opportunities. And he has a really good supporting cast around him, starting with the running back Ezekiel Elliott. And I don't know about you, but I was kind of surprised when they drafted Elliott in the first round because they had Darren McFadden, who was coming off a good season. They had just signed Alfred Morris in the offseason as a backup. I didn't really view running back as a position they needed to address. But obviously it didn't take long for this draft pick to make perfect sense.
I think a lot of it was just his speed, because I know that they talked about like his combine was really, really good. Mm-hmm. So I think that they just saw an opportunity and took it.
Yeah.
As, probably to groom whether McFadden or Morris left or released, or depending on how their cap space was going to work out, then They could just have a rookie under rookie contract.
Yeah, and it definitely worked out for them. Elliott's already looking like one of the best backs in the league. He rushed 322 times for 1,600 yards with a 5.1 average and 15 touchdowns this year. And he can catch, too, when they ask him to. He had 32 receptions, another 360 yards, and a receiving touchdown, too. He's a guy that runs with authority, and once he's in open space, he can really kick it into another gear, too.
He's fast.
I remember one game he took a running back screen pass, 85 yards for a touchdown.
Yep.
Break one tackle or two, and then he can immediately accelerate, and no one's going to catch him after that. So the only issue he really had was with fumbles. He had 5 this year, which is more than you want to see from your running back. I was just so amazed by this. I'll keep bringing it up again. As Woodhead, 2 fumbles in his entire career. So 5 is a little high, and he did get benched for it at times, just for portions of the game. You can't keep.
Well, I mean, it's just you're trying to show him like, hey, you got to watch this, but.
Right.
Once again, let's look at the fact he was a rookie.
Mm-hmm.
So, ball security is something I think they strive in the NFL, and Jason Garrett's going to make sure that that's a priority in the offseason, his work on protecting the Duke, as they say.
Yeah, and that's definitely something fixable.
Mm-hmm.
The other issues, so that's his only issue, I'd say, on the field. He's already had a few instances of making negative headlines off the field, though. And one is dating back to college. There's an ongoing domestic violence investigation from his time there. And then more recently, there was the St. Patrick's Day video where he pulled down a woman's top and exposed her. These are just maturity issues. He's only 21, so he's a kid, But he has to work on acting more like a professional.
Yeah, you're a player. You're a face of a franchise,
and now face of the league too. He's already one of the biggest stars,
and you're a role model now. Something that not all college athletes are, but as you get into professional, you're a role model, and that's why the league has clamped down so hard on these celebrations and stuff, and became the quote unquote no fun league. But there's reasons for it,
right?
And you don't want to become this big name good running back, and all of a sudden the team has to let you go because you can't keep your head on straight.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to handle success, and hopefully he can get a little more grounded, maybe get some coaching from the veterans like McFadden and Morris that are also at running back on the team. But just with multiple of these issues coming up in year 1 of his career, he has to
fix them now.
And not let this become a trend. So also in the backfield, they've got Alfred Morris. They did just re-sign Darren McFadden to a 1-year deal. And so it'll be those 3 guys in the backfield again in 2017. Moving on to wide receiver. The biggest name here is obviously Dez Bryant, although he had a little bit of a down year last year. 50 catches, 800 yards, 8 touchdowns. He did miss 3 weeks with a hairline fracture in his knee, but he was 3rd on the team in receptions behind the tight end Jason Witten and also Cole Beasley. I'd say it took a little while for Bryant and Prescott to build up some chemistry. There were actually 3 different games this season where Bryant had only 1 catch. And it's something they can work on. And they did build it up by the end of the year. He had the 8 touchdowns, which is pretty good. And I felt like Prescott got more comfortable throwing to him as the year went on.
Yeah, because Beasley was his primary target from the get-go. And Witten's always been a reliable...
And both of those guys operate over the middle of the field, which is much easier to see as a quarterback. Those passes are easier to complete. Yeah. So it makes sense to me. And those outside passes are harder, and he'll work on.
But what I like about Des Bryant is he didn't make huge big deals, issues of it like some wide receivers do. He understood why he wasn't getting the ball.
I think
And then he worked with Prescott, and once they started to go, like you said, and the year began to go, he began to see, all right, now we're starting to click.
I remember early in the season, Prescott was actually asked about that in a press conference. Like, why isn't Des Bryant getting the ball more? And he actually said, I'm not going to force the ball to anyone. I'm going to throw it to who's open, which I thought showed a lot of maturity for a rookie quarterback.
It makes sense, because a lot of these guys, even experienced quarterbacks, throw to their number one regardless, and they try to force some of these throws. And when they work, they're spectacular replay throws. But when they don't work, it's like, what were you thinking?
Yeah, like I had 3 defenders on him. Why would you throw it to him? Blake Bortles.
Whoa,
that's second favorite quarterback of all time. All right. So we already mentioned Cole Beasley. He's the Julian Edelman, the Wes Welker, the insert name of small white receiver. That's his role in this offense.
Yet he didn't play like a small receiver.
No, he played really well. He fits that mold, though, at 5'8", 180 pounds. And he does work out of the slot, and he had the best year of his 5-year career last season, with 75 catches, 800 yards, and 5 touchdowns. And we already talked about how these short, underneath, middle-of-the-field throws are really helpful to a young quarterback. And that definitely boosted Beasley's production this year. So I wouldn't be surprised if that goes down a bit next year as he gets more comfortable with these outside throws. But either way, he's a great receiver, great safety outlet to have for a quarterback. And they also just re-signed Terrence Williams, who operates across the field on the outside from Des Bryant. At tight end, the Cowboys have one of the best in the game in Jason Witten. He's been a Cowboy for his entire NFL career, and in those 14 seasons, he's only missed 1 game, and that was in his rookie season. So 13 years in a row, Witten's started every single game at tight end for this team.
That is ridiculous.
It is. I think he might be the most consistent player at the position in the game, with because he has at least 650 receiving yards in every full season that he's played. Last year was a little bit lower than average, 69 catches, 673 yards, and 3 touchdowns. But still productive. 69 catches, was second on the team. And he's a pretty decent run blocker, too. A lot of these teams we talk about, they have a designated tight end for passing situations and a run blocking tight end. But Witten's one of those rare guys who can do both, I think, and do them both well enough that they don't need to bring in someone.
They don't have to substitute, which is nice because you can just run the playbook without having to substitute players.
Yeah, exactly. And then moving on to the offensive line. This is one of the best in the game when it's at full strength, but this offseason they've lost a couple pieces. Ronald Leary played 13 games last year because of an injury to La'el Collins, and he actually looked like the better player, Leary did, but he left through free agency. He's with Denver now. So it'll be Collins back as a starter next year. And the only real problem for this line was at right tackle, where Doug Free was starting to become a bit of a liability. And he just retired. And the next guy on the team is a guy named Emmett Cleary, who hasn't played much in his 3-year career. So I think right tackle is a position they need to address in the draft. But overall, this offense looks great.
I mean, what can you say about a 13-3 rookie tandem?
Yeah.
I just think that I don't expect them to have as easy of a record next year because, how do you prepare for rookies? And the thing about it now is defenses have a full season of tape.
Game footage to watch, yeah.
Not just 1 or 2 games that they started in to prepare for, but an entire season. So they're going to be more prepared for them.
Yeah.
So I don't expect their games to be as easy as they made it look sometimes. And Hugh Elliott, they shut down a good chunk of this offense.
And they also exposed a defense that I think benefited a lot from the time of possession dominance that the running game afforded them. More on that.
And I think this goes true with anything. Yeah, because the defense gets to rest. And any defense that gets a chance to rest is very, very happy defense. And it means you can go out and you can play with authority at full force. And this Dallas defense was very good at that. Their numbers range from middle or top of the pack to the bottom of the pack and all across the categories. So they allowed an average of 19.1 points per game, which was 5th overall. 343 yards, which was 14th overall, 260 passing yards, which was 26th overall, but they were number 1 against the run at allowing only 84 rushing yards. So this front line is very good, very dominant. Their linebacking core is good. What they don't seem to have is a pass rush. It's limited.
Yeah. Yep.
But here's the thing. They allowed a lot of completions. But they didn't allow a lot of yards after the catch, which is all right. It's kind of like playing that Kansas City-style defense of bend but don't break. You're allowing these tons of completions, but you're not allowing them to get points on the board, which is what these numbers show. Mm-hmm. What I think they need to do, and really the only thing they need to do, is upgrade their pass rush. Get a little bit more pressure on the quarterback. Get them to make some bad throws. But what I liked was I saw, and this was very good against Week 3 versus Chicago, because as we all know, the quarterback situation there is messed up.
Right.
It's all over the place. It's finally calmed down now with the addition of Mike Lennon. Mm-hmm. But Alshon Jeffrey's always been the big guy. No matter what, everybody forces the ball to him.
Yep.
My focus player, and happened to be free agency pick, unfortunately, that now is in Baltimore, was Brandon Carr, who had 53 tackles, 9 pass deflections, and an interception. His 9th season with the league, 5th with Dallas. And what I liked about him was he only allowed 4 total catches. 3 of them, he only allowed it when lining up against Alshon Jeffrey, 3 catches, which is phenomenal. Yeah. And he only allowed a total of 7 yards after the catch against everybody that lined up against him, which was remarkable. That's great. I think it's a huge loss to Dallas that they let him go. What I noticed, though, is because they had time to rest, their man coverage was very tight. Their corners were right on top of their guys every single time.
Right, because what we've said about other teams, they started out fine, but then they would get tired out as the game went on.
Because time of possession would be over with more so on the defensive side than the offensive side, so that defense would just get wore down. And it was nice to see a change of pace here. And honestly, this is a common trend across this entire division, what I've seen, is their defenses and offensive time of possession is balanced. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the key thing to making a team work really well. When your offense plays well, your defense plays well. And that's just how it works.
Yep.
So the only negative thing I'd say, if there was one, is that I think they just need to find some good defensive ends to increase their pass rush. If they get their pass rush up, this should lower or raise their rankings in allowing the passing. But, I mean, I can't really complain about it because they're completing tackles, securing tackles, and not allowing a lot of yards after catch.
Right.
And you can't ask for much more.
At the end of the day, the points per game is really the only one that matters.
What yeah. If they make it down the field and they can't score, it doesn't matter.
You did your job.
Yeah. So that's all I have on the defense. I mean, there's not a lot of big-name players because everybody does their job. As Bill Belichick would say, do your job. And I think we talked about this. If you're not mentioning single-player names, it's usually just because they're doing their job.
Yeah. So the only thing I'd add, you mentioned they need a pass rusher. That should be a draft. They should address that through the draft. And then besides Carr, they also lost 2 other members of their secondary, Morris Claiborne and their strong safety Barry Church, both lost to free agency. So this secondary is they did bring in Nolan Carroll from Philadelphia. That addresses one of the corner spots.
Yep.
I still think they need one more because the other guy on the roster is Leon McFadden, who I don't know anything about. I don't think he's been a starter.
He played a couple of snaps, and he was there like at the end of the game. You know how they drop safeties and corners way back so that way they don't allow a deep last minute
prevent. Yeah.
Hail Mary touchdown. Yeah, that's kind of what he did.
Okay.
So he was there just purely as a you can't throw the ball down here player.
So I think they still need to address the other starting cornerback spot and safety because the other guy on the roster is Kayvon Frazier, who has never started a game.
No.
And I don't think he's ready to. Luckily, as we keep saying, the draft has a lot of potential people they could get to plug these holes.
And apparently they work well with rookies, so hey, why not?
Yeah. Do the same thing on the defensive side of the ball that they did on offense this year.
But with that, I think we all know what time it's for.
Too long, didn't watch.
I was going to say hammer time, but I think that might be copyrighted.
That too. Okay.
Take it away, Mike.
All right, so it's a quick recap here of what we discussed today. Thanks, Matt. The Dallas Cowboys were first place in the NFL.
Oh, you did it! No!
Yeah. That's strike one for me today. Yeah. 4 weeks in a row doing AFC teams, and it's messed me up for life. It seems like. You impressively have not messed that up yet. I've messed up twice in the
2 weeks.
Yeah, once each time. Okay, great. Cowboys were first place in the NFC East. Got the first round bye in the playoffs, but then lost in the divisional round to the Packers. But they had an amazing season led by 2 phenomenal rookies in Dak Prescott, the quarterback, and Ezekiel Elliott, the
Were you about
running
to say Alfred Morris?
back. I was. He hasn't been good in a long time. But Prescott looked great. Elliott did too. He 1,600 rushing yards and 15 touchdowns. It was just incredible production that helped out this whole team, the offense, Prescott, and the defense too. Let's see here. Yeah. They re-signed Terrence Williams, the receiver. Cole Beasley had a big season, and we're expecting Bryant to have a better year next year with Prescott. Oh, and Romo's probably going to be off the roster, and any day now it seems like that'll happen. And they need to address their right tackle. That's their biggest hole on offense right now.
Yeah, and I just think that defenses are going to be a lot more prepared for them come next season. So I expect that their record may drop a little bit just because they don't have the surprise. And now teams have an entire year's worth of footage, not just a game here or there.
Yeah.
On the defensive end of the ball, I mean, there's been some changes at corners and safeties, so the secondary's weakened up a little bit. One of the holes have been plugged, but yes, I do agree that we need to address a corner and a safety pull from the draft. Why not? It's the perfect opportunity for it. Pass rush is really the only other thing that they really need to get on. But as long as this offense continues to play well, this defense will play well. They get the rest that many defenses kind of wish they could get.
Yeah.
And that always is great because they come back on the field strong. They play a very good tight man-to-man coverage, which means that they are getting the rest. And other than that, I just wish they would have kept Brandon Carr. I think that would have been a huge help to have them keep one of their corners. But
I agree.
Maybe they know something we don't.
It's very possible.
And with that, that's it for the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, what else is there to say about this team other than they came out of everybody's, to everyone's surprise.
Yeah, definitely.
We thank you all for being here with us today. I apologize that I'm sick now too, thanks to, Mike over here.
I'm healthy though, so.
Yeah, so hopefully I'll be back in top shape. We hope you enjoyed everything. Please give us a like below and leave some comments down there. What do you think of the Cowboys? Is it dynasty era time? Is the Patriots time as the number one dynasty finally over and the Cowboys are now about to match that? It seems like there's potential.
Do people miss Romo, or do they hate him like Matt does?
Oh, God.
Where would you rank him among Ryan Fitzpatrick and Blake Bortles?
79th.
Follow us on Twitter at 2M_football.
And give us a subscribe to keep up with the content. And we will see you all in the next team.
See ya.